Mr. Chairman, my distinguished colleagues, invited guests,
and the Joint Committee for the opportunity to speak to you, and also to apologize my not being here. The last time this committee sat, it was impossible to be here. I traveled out of the country, and it was impossible to come back. Secondly, I was also slightly indisposed, and I apologize for not coming, not out of any disrespect. We have the utmost regard and respect for this, the Senate of the Federal Republic, and this committee also. And also, if it were possible, I would have come, and I sincerely and passionately apologize for not being here. Mr. Chairman, as you have rightly guided in your introductory remarks, I have a brief to this distinguished Joint Committee and to the Senate of the Federal Republic. Mr. Chairman, yes, I do, very strongly, and without mincing words, the upstream is in real difficulty, absolute real difficulty. And this is very easy to see where we are coming from. Sir Chairman, the act of bandits and thieves have brought down our production from what we knew last year to today, hovering around 1.2 million barrels per day. Mr. Chairman, it is not true also, let me clarify, that it is not true that the difference between 1.2 million barrels and our potential budget level of 1.8 is stolen, no. Because of the act of bandits, Mr. Chairman, our major trunk line, the Trans-Namibia 5 line, the NCTL, were all shut down. Because no one will continue to produce when you know that those production will not get to the terminals. And to be very precise, Chairman, we have never seen this level of escalation throughout our operations. Yes, there were issues around oil theft. There are issues around bundles. In the last 20 to 22 years, it didn't start today, no doubt, Chairman. But I can confirm to you that the scale that we are seeing today is not precedented. We can give technical explanation, Chairman. Why would it be so this time around? Prices of crude oil is so high in the market today that there's every incentive for oil thieves to operate. And it is not just the ordinary illegal refineries that we see, or some of the connections that you see. Now we are seeing in a scale that is of proportion that clearly is going to export. And I will explain this, Mr. Chairman. This is what we are dealing with. And it's enormous. And I've invited some of the committees to go and have a direct view of what is really happening and the interventions that is going on. Mr. Chairman, if you have a copy of the document I circulated, I don't know if the committee chairman has a copy of this document so that I can speak to it, Mr. Chairman. Secretariat, where is it? Can you do it quickly now? Chairman is waiting now. Okay. Maybe. Give them your copies, Ahmed. Huh? Ahmed, you must have copies. I will share. You see page 4 of this document, Mr. Chairman. It tells you the story of the decline in production from as high as 1.68 in January 2022 to the current low level of 1.22. This is clearly not connected with the extreme security situation we have. And of course, its associated consequences. Because when you start losing production, it is only natural that no one will put back his money into it. And therefore, there is gradual underinvestment because we do not have the cash flow, and your partners will not put their money into it when they know that you are producing for a third party. and eventually a combination of the necessity to technically shut down because you risk two things, spillage and also delivering crude to the wrong people. And the associated functionality issues have brought up issues around integrity of the asset itself. Chairman, as we speak to you, in the last 6 weeks, I don't know if there's a distinguished member from River State. There's a spill site in Bodo community as we speak now. We're unable to clamp it. It has been flowing in the last 6 weeks. Yes, of course, there are social issues around the community, but the reality is that if you don't clamp that line, you cannot bring back the Trans-Nembe pipeline. And if you don't do that, you are losing 120,000 barrels per day, Mr. Chairman. This is in addition to the hundreds of illegal refineries and connections that are on that line. We have put up a structure of security hovering around our partners, all the government security agencies, and a set of private contractors by region, and I can speak to you if you wish, Mr. Chairman. A set of private contractors that will harmonize our interventions between the government security agencies and the ground realities that we face to bring this down. There are some statistics I'll share with you whether this has worked. But the only way you can prove it has worked is to get back the production. But we know what has happened, Mr. Chairman. Today, if you look at page, I'm sorry, I have to move forward and backward on this document. If you look at the slide where you have the interventions that we have done, just 1 minute. Yes, because of it's the PowerPoint, that's the problem of PowerPoint. When it goes under this, I'm sorry. So I don't know if it is, if I can just quickly, you can follow me. It's important for you to follow me, sir, so that I can explain myself properly. Can I just page them quickly? Yes. This is number 4, 5, so that to the bottom. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 26, 27, 28. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. So on page 4, you will see the gradual decline of production simply associated with the security challenges and its implication on investment, and ultimately we ended up shutting down the Brass Terminal, the Focados Terminal, and the Boni Terminal. All of them are practically doing zero production today. The combined effect is that we have lost 600,000 barrels per day when you do just reality check backwards to where we're coming from. And I'm also happy to say that we will clamp up the Bodo incidents and potentially bring back the TNP in the next 2 to 3 days. And also by the 7th of this month, we're also very positive that we can restore production from the Focados Terminal. This is clearly connected to the many security interventions that are going on, and we believe that after this recovery, we will now continue to build on those opportunities. So, Chairman, I've shared a quick, before we got here, I asked them to give me an update of all the outcome of the security interventions. You have 2 sheets of paper that were just brought when I got here, and I would like you to refer to them, Chairman. And it also addresses the scale of the trouble that we have around our assets. Mr. Chairman, we have deactivated 395 illegal refineries, and I will show you what this means in the pictures that you'll see subsequently. We have taken down 273 wooden boats. We have destroyed 374 reservoirs. I'll show you what those reservoirs mean. 370. It's enormous, Mr. Chairman. We have destroyed 1,561 metal tanks, Mr. Chairman. And we have seized over 49 trucks and burned them down, raised them down, because there's no point taking them anywhere. These are dugout pits, 898 dugout pits so far. And I'll show you what is some of the pictures so that I can demonstrate what they really mean. And I know Chairman upstream and some of the upstream committee members who have seen it, they really have seen what this really means. And there are ovens where this cooking takes place, 1,219 ovens taken down, Mr. Chairman. The implication of this, Mr. Chairman, is that you have a disaster zone. There's no better way of describing it, sir. Both in terms of stoppage of production to environmental issues. And this is worse disaster than what you hear around the Ogoniland in terms of scale. And this is what we are dealing. Today, we are not really dealing with whether or not there's the devastation of the environment, just to stop it first before we even face the consequences, but there will be consequences. For sure, I don't know, distinguished John manager here, please. He knows today that fishing, agriculture is almost decimated to nothing now in very many communities, almost absent. So this is the next worry that we will face as a country and also these descendants. And I would like you to support us to see how we can take the next steps. To say the least, Mr. Chairman, is just a calamitous situation. But we're not hopeless. We are pulling down all the illegal refineries. We are pulling down the connection. As a matter of fact, Mr. Chairman, just 3 days ago, Mr. Chairman, we found a connection by the help of these private contractors that were put in place, running 4 kilometers from our major Trunk-Focados line into the sea, 4 kilometers into the sea. And with a loading port that has probably operated in the last 9 years, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman. And if this is just one, I do not know how many more are there, Mr. Chairman. When you do, yes, distinguished Senator Kaita, when you have an insertion, it doesn't go to meter. It doesn't. It's before the metering point. After the production point, before the metering point, your terminal will read that 100 barrels left the production point, only 0 got to the terminal. That's metering. Yes, you know it is 0. So what use is 0? So it's not an issue of metering, Mr. Chairman. Yes, metering is a problem. Everybody has highlighted it. There may be incorrect metering, inefficient. Yes, that's correct. But this is not what we are dealing with, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when you look at the next slide that I shared with you, it's very obvious that the interventions are working, because when you see the decline of the illegal connections from January 2022 to date, it's declining, but it's not gone. What the data is showing you that there is still illegal connection activities going on, but it's of low scale. It has been degraded. And that is why if you go to page 9, I guess we have numbered them, where you have the best pictures. So, Chairman, this is what you are dealing with. Page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12. And I want you to particularly pay attention to page, to page 12, page 13 or 12. I think I jumped one. Page 13, where you have this figure, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if you can see this. Mr. Chairman, this, as you can see from the date, this was discovered on the 29th. Mr. Chairman, you can see that it is professionally done. It is a connection that is obviously not even going to an illegal refinery. We have also traced it to the sea. When you go by, Mr. Chairman, all the previous pages before that page, it just tells you when we say illegal refinery, what it means, page 10 and 11. Mr. Chairman, sometimes we not just sometimes, every day in our major trunk line when they're operating, and we still do, we take an overflight in the morning between 6 and 6:30 before pumping starts. Mr. Chairman, visibility is very clear. We see those activities going on, sometimes unperturbed, unchallenged, and you'll see it. But I'm happy also that this has been degraded through the actions of our government security in the last 2 to 3 months, and the escalation of those interventions in the last 1 month, but with interventions of the private security that we have taken, and also the Nigerian Air Force, and we are seeing gradual respect for the state, because it's actually lack of respect for the state. And this is paying off, Mr. Chairman. And the net result, as I've said earlier, Mr. Chairman, is degradation of the environment, of scale that we are still carrying out investigations to see what does this do, all this mean, what do we do? But first and foremost, we need to stop it, and we're stopping it. And to do this also, it has many dimensions, Mr. Chairman. It's not just enough to see it as a security problem, it's not. It's also a social problem. We're also intervening in making sure that those members of community, and they are not the culprits. And I can tell you, Mr. Chairman, yes, you can operate in this environment without local knowledge, but it has now turned into an industry that everybody is participating, just like the gold in Zamfara, that everybody goes there. So today you find people from all parts of the country, and some of them even unknowingly taken there as employees of refineries. Unfortunately, they don't even know. So many of the arrests have confirmed that some of these people don't even know that they are in a wrong place. They were told that they are employed to work in a refinery, artisanal refinery, or modular refineries, because they are not refineries. So, Chairman, this is what we are dealing with. But what did we do, apart from this security intervention, is to escalate it to the global space. Because crude oil transactions, as we all know, apart from the cooking that they are doing, and I'm sure that many of the diesel that we use in all our homes here, until very recently, may be coming from those illegal refineries. I can tell you this. But you cannot sell crude oil in the international market without involving banks. It's not possible. So we have taken this struggle to the international platform, and we have asked that the United Nations declares purchase of stolen crude oil as blood diamond. And that worked in some jurisdiction. And also, because sometimes when people take stolen crude oil to markets, they have no way of validation. We have also created a portal where any legitimate transaction in Nigeria crude oil can be validated. So for anyone who doesn't do, is deliberately either avoiding that process or is part of the problem. And that's why we have also appealed to the international banking platforms to engage us and to help us so that we can, because these transactions have identification. You cannot pay for 1 million barrels of oil except through a bank. The bank will ask for necessary documentation, which includes origination documents. And those origination documents can be validated in the platform that we have created, which is what you'll see on slide 13, where we've created a platform that people can validate this. And also report any stolen crude or any activity that is illegal. And I'm happy to also say that the same members of communities that people think they are part of it, we have gotten enormous reports from them that the government security agencies are now working on. And it's the source of some of the arrests that we're able to do. Mr. Chairman, I know for sure that this is something that probably is the first line of priority for our country. We need to resolve it, not just because it's a revenue matter, but because we are creating a huge social problem in the areas that we operate. in terms of calamity of environmental devastation. And more than anything, money is going into the wrong hands. A cargo of crude oil today will cost $90 million. Anyone with $90 million, if he chooses, none of us will sleep in Abuja. This is the reality. Mr. Chairman, it needs the help of all of us, but I must also congratulate the members of our security forces for the enormous work they have done in recent times, and we know that this will abate subsequently. Mr. Chairman, secondly, fuel supply, I think this should interest all of us, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if I can continue. Yes. Yes, yes, Mr. Chairman, fuel supply. These are what we call the ember months: October, November, December. Typically, consumption rises in November because people move extensively. We are out of the wet season, so local transportation increases. So typically, you'll have more demand for petroleum during what we call the ember months and the potential glitches in the distribution system. I can confirm to you, Chairman, in slide 16, that we have sufficient supply in our hands, and our plan up to December and into January is robust, and I can confirm that we do not see any supply disruptions happening between now and November. And as we speak now, even if we don't import any liter of fuel, we have 29 days of sufficiency in our hands at current evacuation level. And I must emphasize, Mr. Chairman, is evacuation. I do not know, we do not know the consumption of this country, Mr. Chairman. And evacuation is simply what the volumes that have left all the depots. And this is validated. I don't know if my colleague from the authority has come here. They keep record of all the evacuations. That's every truck that leaves any fuel depot, the quantity it takes, the driver, the phone number, everybody, destination fuel station, it's all kept by the authority. And I can confirm to you that the numbers I present here is what you see, is the evacuation from the depot. And evacuation, as we all know, may not be consumption. When you evacuate, we have no control. And I must say this very clearly, Mr. Chairman. If you go to the next slide, 18, I numbered it 18, where you have the map of Nigeria and other countries. Mr. Chairman, our subsidized price of petroleum motor spirit in our country is between 162 and 165. That's a problem. By the way, you will see 170, 175 in this state, so we own it up. Mr. Chairman, 162, if you are selling at 162, and look at the countries around him, Mr. Chairman. This is a reality. This can be validated because it's in a global web page where you can validate these prices. Globalpetrolprices.com. Do the conversion, you will get these prices. So as long as we are in this condition, I remember, Mr. Chairman, we know there's huge difficulty in our social environment today. The price of petroleum affects everything, of energy, anywhere in the world. We are seeing this now unfolding across the globe, even in Europe. Countries are taking steps to see how they can contain and control the cost of energy. I don't know if do I stop, sir? Should I stop or what? Okay. Okay. Countries are taking steps to contain and control the cost of energy across the globe, both its supply and its pricing. So we're not any different because the subsidized regime we're having today is simply reacting in a different manner. In some Western countries, in European countries, they have reduced taxes to zero in some countries on petroleum. It's just another subsidy because money you would have paid, you didn't pay. So everybody is doing something, some form of subsidy, somehow to contain the price and the cost of energy. but it also creates problem for you. That means you must be wary of the realities around you, which is that you have very poor countries around us. They will have no access to foreign exchange in the current situation that we are seeing, and it's very, very difficult to contain cross-border smuggling. But I also confirm that enormous work has been done. This has been clearly reduced, but it's not eliminated, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure you have seen so many reports in the media where the customs have made arrests of people trying to take products across the country. And in some countries, they actually call it Nigerian market. But it's real. And we have also seen, Mr. Chairman, that any time we bring down supply or evacuation to below, in current times, Mr. Chairman, to below 65, and we have seen it happen 2-3 times this year alone. Anytime, for any reason, the supply comes down below that level, evacuation comes down level, you will see trouble in the streets. And you will see the queues. It will come up. So, Mr. Chairman, the figures you are seeing reflective of our evacuation may not be our consumption, but definitely it is the level at which, if you don't operate at that level, you will go into the trouble that you are seeing. Very simple that you can see in Abuja today, sir. I'm sure you have seen the pockets of queues just today, Mr. Chairman. And what caused it? Because trucks could not cross Lapai here, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if there's honorable single senator from Niger State. You know this, sir. Okay, you know this, yes. As we speak now, there are trucks that are trapped there for 3 days. As we are coming here, we are making efforts to see how we can intervene. It's not NNPC's role, but we are doing it so that we can clean those roads, we can do some patchwork so that the trucks can cross. So at the moment you have a minor disruption of this distribution system, you have trouble. And this is reflected in the manner in which evacuation takes place in the fuel depots. The last 3-4 days, anytime you have holidays, we do everything possible to make sure that the evacuation takes place at the depot so that you don't have this build-up that can happen. But I'm happy this is going to go away this evening or latest by tomorrow morning because we're able to clear the exit. Mr. Chairman, I would like to just take you to slide 20, just to show you, and I'm not going to bore you with data. If you look at the last row, Mr. Chairman, the second to last row, from 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, up to 2022, we are seeing increase in evacuation since 2015. There can be 2 explanations, Mr. Chairman. One is that we have genuine growth in our economy. We also have reality that power supply is a major issue. Growing population, and people are resorting to some of these power generators that run on petrol. And also the rice revolution, distinguished chairman, senator from Niger State will bear that 70% of all the power generators used in the pumps that brought the rice revolution operate on petrol. And therefore, you have a scale-up of consumption that you didn't see, that didn't exist before. And of course, the economic realities around us, our neighboring countries, is also an additional cost. So when you combine all this, you will see this growth going. So for us, our responsibility is to make sure that we, by virtue of the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, to continue to guarantee energy security. Well, that's what we are doing, and it's our role. And we do believe that the pricing of petroleum, the Senate, in its wisdom, and as far as the legislation, the Appropriation Act 2022 and 2021, to the effect that we should sell prices at this. So it's our job to deliver this for you. Mr. Chairman, I don't want to bore you with slide 21, just show you the evacuation. It just tells you how it oscillates between periods. So nothing to bore you with, including slide 22. It's telling the same story month by month. And anytime you have a drop, you have a problem. This is really the point that you are seeing. Mr. Chairman, I don't want you to bore with the rest of the data. They speak for themselves. But what is also critical, Mr. Chairman, is that when you go to slide 25, where you have evacuation, and I can confirm to you that the authority has data around all the evacuation by state, by fuel station, by the trucks that left the depots, and state by state you will see. And by the way, these figures they are seeing is also a reflection of delivery of subsidy by state. That's really what it means. It's not pro rata, this is by population and economic capacity. And it's very obvious, and sometimes, and unfortunately also, Mr. Chairman, these are the averages, but unfortunately it's also reflective of states that are connected to borders. Mr. Chairman, I would like you to look at slide 26, fuel stations by states. And you see that some states have disproportionate number of fuel stations. And one example that we'll just point out so that we can, just without mincing words, and I think taking it from the border states. And I'll take two examples, they should suffice. When you go to Shaki, who is, I don't know if it's from Oyo State, you have close to 100 filling stations. You don't need more than 5 stations in that vicinity. In Katsina State, distinguished Senator Ogaita, and I'll mention it, so that just to sort of show that this is not, it's everywhere. In Jibia, between kilometer 10 into Jibia, I'm sure we all know, I'm not sure Jibia requires more than 3 filling stations. You have over 90 fuel stations between kilometer 10, yes. And this is true of every state that has a border. Every border city that you have in this country have this disproportionate number of fuel stations beyond their needs. But I'm happy also to say that there's a regulation that has limited establishment of new stations close to the border states. And I think this is something that should interest the National Assembly. Maybe it can be a legislative matter for you to consider. But these are the realities that you are seeing. How we can reduce them or how we can discourage them can be a matter of legislative considerations. Mr. Chairman, slide 28, refinery updates. What are we doing with our refineries? I've said it the last time I engaged you. Port Harcourt refinery rehabilitation is on progress, it's ongoing. You will see the scale of activities that we are doing. We are very confident that we will deliver this refinery to completion. And also active work is going on. I invite you at your convenience to join us to come and see what is going on. We're also mobilizing into Warri Refinery. Contractor has mobilized to site. And I also invite you to join us so that we can see what is going on in Warri Refinery. And mobilization with Kaduna will now follow suit. This is clearly unavoidable because it's now you have access to fend for ourselves, Mr. Chairman. We do not have recourse to state funds anymore. We are borrowing to fund this infrastructure rehabilitation, Mr. Chairman, and we are very confident that we'll deliver on this. And I invite you at your earliest convenience to join us to see exact work that is going on. I do not want to bore you with data, but you will see it for yourself. Mr. Chairman, then on gas, Mr. Chairman, I do not have the slides here, but I will speak to it, Mr. Chairman. Gas is the major fulcrum of the energy transition. And Mr. Chairman, the world has accepted gas as the transition fuel. And for us, we are a gas country. We have never paid attention to it. We have always looked at the easy revenue that comes from oil, and therefore we neglected it for many years. But I'm happy that the new focus by our country in gas development is paying up. We are delivering on the gas infrastructure projects, particularly the OB3 pipeline, which will connect the east and the west, and also enable gas delivery to the eastern part of the country. And one element is left now, Mr. Chairman. There's a technical situation we are dealing with, and we know we'll cross it by end of December. And that's what we call the River Niger crossing. We are doing tunneling the River Niger by 3 kilometers, am I right? 2.7 kilometer line. Yeah? 2.7? Yes. 2.7 kilometer line. And once that is completed, stories around shortages of gas in the Lagos area and the east will become history because we will now have capacity to add additional 2 billion scope of gas into the network. It will also enable delivery to the ongoing AKK pipeline, which is also at a very, very high level of completion. And we have promised that we'll deliver gas on this line by the first quarter of next year, and this will happen also, Mr. President. We may not complete the project, but we'll deliver gas on it. As you are aware, gas projects are always done in phases. There are equipments that you can wait and deliver subsequently. Some of the relay stations that until you have a need, you don't do them. And that's why we have scaled up, we have appropriated a process, and we'll deliver this project also. But ultimately, what will this do is to increase domestic gas supply to up to 8 billion scope. And once that is done, then the gas-based industries will come. And nobody will put his money except they are sure that gas will come. And that's why we could not even progress with the power plants we plan to construct in Abuja, Kaduna, and some of the power plants that are already in place, they can't get gas because we are not able to complete this infrastructure. And we are focused on completing this infrastructure so that gas can be delivered and businesses can now take decisions to construct power plants. We didn't stop at that. We're also scaling the power supply, as you are aware also, Mr. Chairman, a number of issues around the transmission system, which is being also handled through the Siemens initiative. And we think that once that is the bottleneck, power delivery into the network will also become easier. As I can also share with you, Mr. Chairman, we have 2 power plants that are now operating at less than 50% of their installed capacities because there's no transmission capacity for us to deliver the gas into the network. We know this, but the bottlenecking will help, and ultimately we can have more power into the network. You may also have seen a number of conversations around export gas, and this is also clearly in the best national interest for us to do this. The international market is looking for gas more than any other time today, and we are being engaged by multiple stakeholders across the globe to see how Nigerian gas can come into the international market. One of the frameworks that we are working on is the Brass to Morocco pipeline, which will pass through 11 West African countries into Morocco and end up in Europe, and also to extend the Trans-Nigeria pipeline into Niger Republic and into Algeria, and also land into Europe if sufficient quantities are available. Once this is done, Mr. Chairman, all we need to do is to sustain what we are doing on the NLNG project, which is to scale up supply to the LNG. Currently, gas supply is at 70%, connected to the security situation that we have in the country today, and scale it up so that it is at optimum. The train 1 to 6 that we have come to optimum production at 98%. Once we're able to restore the lines, particularly the Focados line, and also to continue the progress that we're having on the Train 7 project. It is going on course. And as a matter of fact, our partners and us are engaging to see how we can also progress with a Train 8 possibility, because the market is still there. Up to year 2030 to 2040, gas will still be relevant, and you will still see investment in the gas business. On the back of this, Mr. Chairman, there are quick wins around gas. We're also working with a number of partners to bring floating LNG facilities so that ultimately, because they are quicker to deliver, they are smaller in scale, and those engagements are going on, and we think we'll get the commitments to make them of value to our country as we continue to develop the upstream oil and gas development in general sense, because that's what the PIA has done also. Partners are now engaging because of the resolution of so many conflicts, the position that the PIA has placed this country. Now there's robust engagement going on to return to the deep water. And I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity to speak.